encourage you to take a view or take a listen, whichever option is available for you, and take a listen to what the hell he has going on. It will take some deep dives in some information that you might be interested in.
Hi, this is Jim from Safetywars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
So I ran through the intro again now that we are streaming on YouTube and our other video platforms. So I just went over for the people who just are coming on to the video. On the whole Alec Baldwin thing, I will have that separate. So what are we going to do? Tonight, it's a special night for me. This week was a special week. We are at 32 years in this industry as of yesterday. So, started out doing geotechnical work and health and safety related to that, right-to-know inventories, the famous right-to-know inventories in the state of New Jersey. And that's how I got my start doing this stuff and dealing with SDS or MSDSs, right? Now SDSs and things of that nature. And we learned. Now, everyone's going to start somewhere. There's got to be a starting point. And then what happened was about a year later, a friend of mine, John Arnosky, and another friend of mine, Kim, I'll leave her first name as Kim. They're a very close friend of mine. They were dating, and I was out of work, and he said, "Hey, Jim, why don't you try out and do safety full-time on a hazmat site? You know how to run all the equipment, industrial hygiene, and everything else, so you don't know you're going to learn. Stay with it. If you don't like it, then leave." And here we are 32 years later. Right? But anyway, 10 things I learned. I actually learned 11 things, right? I should have put another item in here, a couple of things on here, but what exactly are we doing here? What did I learn? What can you say after this? So our 10 things. Number 1, clearly define your job duties and authority. How many times have I said this on the show? Clearly define your job duties and authority in your employment contract, specifying if you have the power to hire, fire, discipline, or implement changes, right? So why do you want that? Why? It could protect you legally, give you some stuff. You still got to do your job, but try to keep in your lane. The big thing is, right? You get onto these jobs, right, as a consultant or even as a direct hire safety person, and they're like, "Well, why don't you do something about X, Y, and Z? How come you don't do that? Well, why don't you get why aren't you implementing change?" Well, if you have it in writing, hey, not my job. I don't have the authority to do this stuff. Kind of hard for management. I mean, they're going to do what they're going to do anyway sometimes, but kind of hard for anyone to say anything. It's like it's not that you're giving excuses. It's that, hey, I'm not given the authority to do this. Now, on the converse side of this, if they tell you you have the authority to do this, and it's like, well, now you do that. Now you have authority to do it. It's in writing. This way, if someone says, "He's stepping on my toes," or "She's doing this," or I was given the authority to correct this issue. Period. Same thing when I am out on a project, and one of my people is out on a project, and what happens? There's an incident. Could be a near miss. It could be an actual incident where something bad happens. I make the notifications that I need to make, and I tell the project manager or the site super, whoever is there, okay, I am going to institute a investigation here. Do I have your permission to do the investigation? Yes or no? Almost always is yes. Sometimes it's no. No, you don't. I will handle that. And okay, whatever you want to do. But, you have to make them. Now, if there's an issue, hey, I was not given the authority to do this. Or I was given the authority to do this. I'm doing an investigation, right, with this. Or a learning team. And the thing is, you don't want to be adversarial. You never want to get adversarial. Now, here's another one. If someone instructs you, you got to document a report. Someone instructs you not to perform your duties, document the interactions. Consider reporting it, especially in an immediately dangerous life and health situation. And if the instruction comes from a superior, right, you better make damn sure that you do that. And remember, written orders cannot be countermanded unless it's some kind of dire emergency with a verbal order. Can't do it. Why? Because if there's a problem, they're going to come back. Someone's going to come back and say, well, the plan says in writing X, Y, and Z. And you say, well, so-and-so told me don't worry about that. Do the X. Well, yeah, but the plan says X, Y, and Z. Why wasn't it done? And guess what? The person's going to be out for themselves. The way it is. No, they'll throw you under the bus. Believe me, they'll throw you under the bus. You got to be smart about it. Now, you're going to say, well, Jim, you sound adversarial. Guess what? If they know that you got your groove note together, people are going to respect you more. Right? At least there's a higher chance of them respecting you. You can't guarantee anybody respect here. Maintain a sense of humor. Number 3, maintain a sense of humor. Maintain a sense of humor and don't take yourself seriously. Laugh at yourself. Have fun when appropriate. Now, ease tensions and improve workplace relationships. Now, the thing is this. When there is an issue, and there are issues, there are jobs we're dealing with people, and especially now where we have people out there letting their private lives hang out there. On all different types of subjects, huge amounts of subjects. You have to ask the question, and I started asking this question 15 years ago. Is it my business? If it's none of my business, move on. None of my business. If it is my business, or I think, yeah, it is my business, well, why is it my business? And if it's truly my business, have a rationale why it's my business. Make sure you have a constructive approach before you're going to intervene. That's what you want to do. Value human life. Now, you're going to say, well, Jim, what are you talking about? People don't value human life? Yeah, I'm going to tell you, people do not value human life. Welcome to the construction and environmental world. A lot of general industry, too. I can name several general industry clients. They have no value in human life. Zero. Nada. Zilch. And they act accordingly. So, regardless of what you say, you can have the most inspiring speech in the world. You can have great things. I mean, you could be the Winston Churchill of safety speeches. You could have. The great orators. You can be a great orator. Guess what? They don't give a shit about human life. That's not going to happen to you. What do you think? So, what we often do is talk about the cost of the company. How much is it going to cost you? Someone gets an eye injury, how much is that going to cost you? So this situation happens, how much is it going to cost you? I get these people all the time with carbon monoxide, for example. Carbon monoxide is not an issue, blah, 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 blah. And then I explain what the medical procedures are for treating a carbon monoxide poison if the person survives. I mean, if they're injured and they're dead, IDLH, they're permanent. Now, you're dealing with a whole bunch of costs. But what does it take to treat a carbon monoxide-related injury? It's a pretty extensive thing. So what happens? What do you think happens? Oh, how much is it going to cost? It's going to cost me that? Yeah, and you're going to have to sell a lot more widgets to make up that cost, even with the workers' comp. And it's like, oh, and then the workers' comp, that's another one. Well, do you realize, yeah, workers' comp is good, where you get the care that you need. Usually, you get to see doctors and everything else. But it's a no-fault policy. So normally, what happens? A supervisor tells you to do X, Y, and Z. Unless it's something over the top, you get hurt. They don't follow OSHA regulations. What happens? Supervisor goes on their way. Company goes on their merry-old way. May have higher workers' comp rates or something like that for a couple of years, whether blah, blah, blah. And then they go on. There's no risk to them. Because with risk, you have to have, right, the likelihood of something happening and what's the consequence? There are no consequences. You think they're going to give a shit? No, they're not. OSHA compliance. Organizations, and this goes with number 5 here. Number 6, OSHA compliance. Organizations that violate OSHA regulations often breach other employment laws as well. Be vigilant and thorough in your assessments. Assessing a company. Okay, they won't give us one thing. Now on the other end, okay, on the other end, what else are they not doing? Are they not paying wages? I mean, you do know that we had a major change in the wage laws July 1st. What are you doing? Ignorance and hostility. Non-compliance with OSHA or EPA regulations may stem from ignorance rather than malice. Those situations respect and kindness and avoid hostility. So if someone's not doing something, find out why. Don't assume that they're stupid. Well, guess what? You got to work with people. Hey, why is this happening? Get along with them. They may not know what the right thing to do is. They may have been trained the wrong thing what to do. You may not know the right thing to do. Maybe you're doing something perfectly normal. Get with them. They're the experts on that job, usually. But you got to go in there, and you go in, and you try to find out, hey, what's going on? Explain to me what's going, hey, I'm interested in learning on how you do this. And guess what? Maybe once you show that you're working with somebody, then guess what happens? Oh, hey, now you're working together, you're meeting each other, you're building a little bit of a relationship there and everything else. And, maybe they're not smart on this, but they're smart on something else. And maybe now you learn something and now you could go and you can work with them. And okay, maybe you're smarter and now, no, you're not, you don't know what's going on. The whole thing. That's what you got to do. You got to work with people, folks. Work with them. Number 8, private confrontation. Avoid undermining and confronting colleagues in public. Address issues privately and document the interactions, right, if appropriate, to ensure accountability. We had a jerk on a site about 3 weeks ago, go completely berserk. Site manager. So I'm forced, because of what we do here, human and organizational performance, and a lot of the other stuff, I wrote a very detailed email to our customer saying, hey, the way that this person's acting, right, is not making this a less safe thing. Regardless of what the problem is, yelling and screaming means that you're not going to get the input and the information you need to run a company safely. Way it is. No one's going to report anything if you're a jerk, if you're screaming and yelling. Even if you feel like screaming and yelling is like, I gotta, okay. Hopefully you don't, make faces like I do sometimes. Or like that guy that does the safety stuff online with making faces with accidents, right? Again, you have to do that. Now, stay positive. Maintain a positive attitude and don't let negativity affect you. This approach not only promotes safety, but also enhances your career. Nobody wants to be around a person who is negative. Doesn't happen. Positivity. You want to learn about being a leader? Act positive. Be an optimist. Be a can-do person. Don't say no all the time. Say, yeah, no, we can do that if we have the right procedures. Matt Damon talked about this, where he was on a set with, I believe, Alec Baldwin. That was Alec Baldwin. It was Tom Cruise, one of the Mission Impossible movies, where they wanted to do a stunt that he was working on for 15 years and thinking about it, Tom Cruise. And whoever the safety person was said, no, you can't do that. So they fired the safety person. Well, let's apply something. My question is this. If you're going to be out there thinking about, if you know somebody's been planning something for 15 years, why don't you hear the person out? Maybe they have a way of doing it safely, rather than dismissing it out of hand like allegedly this person was doing. Say, you know what? Yeah, we can do that if we do all this other stuff. Yeah, we could do that, but let's get the right equipment, the right training, the right procedures in place. Let's get that into, using the SKR mode. Let's see if we can get that into the skills mode where we saw, right, and everything else. That's a much better way of going about it than, no, you cannot do it. No, you can't do it. Well, guess what? I'm paying the bill. I'm going to do it anyway. Say yes. Or you can say, yeah, if we do X, Y, and Z, we can ensure this, this, this. And then they may say, you know what? This is someone I can work with. And then you get out that beloved hazard matrix table, and now you're able to figure things out, which is a much more positive thing than no all the time. You want to hear no all the time, not me. Now, prevent workplace violence. After the situation we had the week after Christmas in this town, I'm sorry to end this whole thing on a negative note, no. We talk about psychological safety, and everything else. We now have resources available, 988, and a lot of the suicide hotlines and everything else that are out there. Use them, right? No, I've had to do a couple of workplace violence investigations over there. Never had a fatality. And we always hear, man, that guy was always a hostile person, usually a man. They're always a hostile person. With a woman involved in a workplace violence situation, it's usually someone coming from off-site to your facility to commit the act of violence. That's my understanding of it. At least that's often what the case is. Again, you got to go out there and you have to say, address this. If you have somebody acting crazy, you have somebody that's like, that's a little bit odd. Maybe you want to address it. Because I tell you what, I hear all this stuff. Oh, well, that didn't, hey, I wasn't out there. I picked up the microphone and backed up here. Right. How could we have known about that? Why didn't we know about that? And all the other nonsense that goes along with it, very frustrating. We didn't know. Yeah, usually they have known. They did know. There were indicators. And even if they weren't, you can at least have peace of mind saying, look, I go out of my way to see if someone has a problem, right? And that's what I've learned over this stuff. Now, I incorporate all of this into my training classes. Everything that you just heard on how do you manage people? How do you manage safety? Maybe you want to get this video and the other one. No, we're going to be uploading this and the other one that we have later on, right, after this show. And I am saving this. I didn't save it. All right, and we'll go from there. So we're going to take a break here, and we'll be coming back to you.
You are listening to Safety Wars. Tomorrow's Safety Today.
Have you?
Oh, we already did.
In the professional safety community, communication and planning are just a few keys to your program's success. The question many practitioners have is, where do I start? Dr. Jay Allen, the creator of the Safety FM platform and host of the Rated R Safety Show, has built a global foundation to help you along the way. Go to safetyfm.com and listen to some of the industry's best and most involved professionals, including Blaine Hoffman with the Safety Pro, Sam Goodman with the Hop Nerd, Sheldon Primus with the Safety Consultant, Jimpoesl with Safety Wars, Emily Elrod with Unapologetically Bold, and many others. As individuals, we can do great things, but as a team, we become amazing. Dial into safetyfm.com today and surround yourself with a powerful force of knowledge and support.
OSHA recordables, catastrophic losses, environmental disasters. You want answers? So do I. This is Jimpoesl with Safety Wars.
That's my daddy.
Okay, we're going to start covering some OSHA news, but I want to point out here, the Safety FM feed is going to cut out on us because we only have it from 8 to 9, and I started a little bit late here. But I wanted to get through at least one OSHA news story to make this 1 hour program for the video, for the YouTube, right? And the other video platforms. So, and we also have, so that's what we were going to do. So at 9 o'clock, this is going to cut out. You could go and check us out. We're going to go into overtime here. So here we have the OSHA news releases here. Now, and this is where I got the info. We're going to go over some of this stuff. All right. Here we have an excavation collapse in an unguarded trench that collapsed, trapped and injured workers in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, right? What were they? On the border, Twice in less than 3 months in late 2023. Okay, one the other is what it looks like. A Boston waterproofing contractor exposed employees to life-threatening cave-ins and excavation hazards at residential work sites in Arlington, Massachusetts, and Warwick, Rhode Island. Federal workplace investigators found. Hold on. Oh, I just got some feedback here. Hello, Mr. Dave. Mr. Dave, I will be in your neighborhood tomorrow. So, but anyway, sorry, folks. Yeah, Mr. Dave is one of my colleagues from when I worked for a painting contractor. Twice in less than 3 months, in late 2023, right? The U.S. Department of Labor's OSHA determined that in each instance in Arlington on September 10, 2023, and in Warwick on December 2nd, 2023, a Boston Waterproofing and Construction Corporation supervisor recruited, then ordered untrained day laborers to enter and work in unprotected excavations, despite the employees raising safety concerns and asking for cave-in protection, which the employer did not provide. The excavations collapsed at both locations, with each cave-in injuring and burying an individual worker. Again, this is what we just talked about. They brought up issues. Document them, right? Document them. We have a thing called a smartphone, right? You can document this easy. At the Arlington job site, the employer made no attempt to rescue the trapped employee, took away the employee's phone, and struck the trapped employee with objects to prevent the employee from seeking medical attention. Holy Gluvno. Right? At the Warwick site, the trapped employee asked the employer to call. This is like, wow. Right? At the Warwick site, the trapped employee asked the employer to call 911 for help and for transfer to the local hospital, but the employer objected. The employer did not use proper medical equipment to remove the injured employee from the excavation. Instead, the employer carried the injured worker to a personal vehicle, drove the person to an urgent care facility, and left the employee there. I can't wait to see this one. OSHA also determined that during the Warwick inspection that the employer caused significant damage to the work site, then failed to either fix or take responsibility, right? The employer then lied to and threatened the homeowner after the homeowner sought to bring the damage to the employer's attention. OSHA cited a certain company for willful and serious violations of the OSHA Act, right, of 1970, including lack of cave-in protection and training for the employees, not having a competent person to inspect the excavations at both work sites, and not providing access to emergency medical services and transportation at the Warwick job site. So apparently, I'm not reading that there was a fatality here. Right. And this is the OSHA proposed a total of over $450,000 in penalties for both places, and we're going to look at those. Wow. Oh, they broke them out separately. Let's see what we have here. Now, this is what one of the things is. People feel that, and we have an introduction to OSHA course that we teach also. People feel that because they are day laborers and they're being paid off the books, therefore, right? Therefore, they're independent contractors that are not covered by OSHA. I don't know if the employer ever got down to that level on here, but it's like this, all right? There used to be a test back in the day from the IRS folks that said, hey, you have to meet these 8 or 9, I think, different things, and it has to be yes to all of them, then you're an independent contractor. The fact that you tell someone to show up to work at 7 a.m. in the morning, they're no longer an independent contractor. Way it is. Right? They don't have that checklist out now, but now basically you tell somebody, hey, you have to be at work at 7 a.m. in the morning, they're no longer an independent contractor. You're supplying tools and equipment to them, guess what? No longer an independent contractor. It's just the way it is, but that's not, with this. So here it is. This is citation 1, item 1, series 16,131. That's right up to the max. On or about 9/10/2023, the employer did not provide any safety training or instruction to employees on how to recognize and avoid hazards associated with working in a trench or excavation at the job site. Right? For example, employees are not trained on the core aspects of trench and excavation safety, such as hazard recognition, benching, and setback spoils file, right? They were instructed them to enter the trench or excavation without any safety training, and it caved in on an employee trapping and seriously injuring the employee. Thank God, no fatality. Since there were at least 3 employees who were not trained as required regarding work being performed at this work site, the employer is being cited for each of the 3 documented instances in accordance with OSHA's instance-by-instance policy. So this would be an accident report that you probably want to save, because that is great phraseology if you're going to put that into, if you're going to place that into an email. So we're going to go here and we're going to save it. All right. The employer, since they're, right, 16,131. So I'm looking at, that's like 48,000 and change is what it looks like. Oh, no, it's just a repeat. Citation 1, item 2, item 3. Okay, number 4. When working remotely, the employer did not ensure that the communication system is effective in contacting the emergency medical services. So they did not provide emergency medical services, and the employee raised safety concerns, right, about this. After the work started, the employer left employees alone at the job site, did not provide a means for the employees who spoke minimal English to communicate with emergency medical services. When the trench excavation caved in and injured and partially buried an employee, the employee called the employer to ask for help, but the employer did not contact the EMS or return with urgency to the job site to help. The employer later attempted to call 911, that's 911 for some folks, for help, but the employer arrived at the job site soon after and took the phone away from the employee and his coworkers before they could request emergency medical services. The employer then physically struck the trapped employee with objects while the employee was still in the trench or excavation to stop the employee from alerting anyone to the cave-in and the need for rescue and medical attention. They got the max on that. I hope that the person had charges filed against them for this. Here we have, each employee in an excavation was not protected from cave-ins by an adequate protective system. That's a willful serious violation, 161,000. It was a 5 to 8 foot deep excavation. Citation 2, item 1B, nothing on this, but employees were not protected from excavated or other materials or equipment that could pose a hazard. So this is more or less things could fall into the excavation. You have to have a 2 foot setback. This is where I disagree with the regulation. All right, based on my experience and my education with soil mechanics and things of that nature. All right, if you're going to have a cave-in, potentially the cracks or the fissures that are going to be that are forming are going to be somewhere between are going to be about 2/3 of the depth of the trench. So let's say the trench is 10 foot deep. So you're going to expect the fissures back about 6 feet. The regulation says you can spoil tile needs to be 2 foot or more back. So in reality, it should be whatever the trench depth is plus 2/3 of that, unless you could get like a registered professional engineer, somebody really qualified to look at that with that. And again, no, what else is around it? It sounds like they're in a residential setting. Now, is the building an issue here? I don't know. So here we have citation 2, item 1C, type of violation, willful serious. Daily inspections not done. Oh, really? You mean you have to do a daily inspection? Yes. Does it have to be in writing? Somewhere. You better have it somewhere in writing or video now. Something. Gotta have something, dude. Right, the employer did not attempt to rescue the employee and prevented the employee from seeking medical attention by taking away the employee's phone, blah, 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 $0. So what are we looking at? $225,000 here. I hope the guy, if this is true, I'm not saying it is true or not, but if this is true, sounds like this like a criminal type thing. Now, second time this happens, right, for this company. So let's see what we have here. Same company. Citation 1, item 1. The employer did not instruct each employee in the recognition and avoidance of unsafe conditions and the regulations applicable. Hey, that sounds familiar. That is $16,131. And they did an instance by instance penalty. And there were how many people? Doesn't say here. This is another one. We're going to save this one. All right. What's going on here? 29 CFR, so they got 16,000 there, another 16,000 here, no instructions, no training, another 16,000, another 16,000. Proper equipment and for prompt transportation of injured persons to a physician or a hospital or communication system for contacting necessary ambulance service was not provided. Hold on. Hang on, we're going to go to commercial break. I got to get something to drink here. I'll be right back. And it's not going to be an adult beverage. Honest.
In a world where danger lurks in every corner, one man stands as a beacon of hope. Jimpoesl, a veteran safety expert with over 3 decades of experience, now bringing his knowledge to you with Safety Wars. Engaging, informative, and always relevant, that's Safety Wars. Join the safety revolution with Safety Wars, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts and videos.
All right, and I am back. Thank you, Debbie. All right, sorry about that. I forgot to have something ready to drink here. All right, citation 1, item 4. Proper equipment for prompt transportation of an injured person to a physician or hospital, or a communication system for contacting necessary ambulance service was not provided. So here we have, at least they didn't like throw stuff at him this time. The employer did not provide proper equipment to transport an injured employee to a medical facility, nor did the employer ensure proper access to emergency medical services. The employer instructed employees to enter a trench or excavation and continue digging deeper and deeper. Despite raised safety concerns and requests for cave-in protection, a trench excavation caved in and injured and partially buried an employee who requested the employer call 911 for help and bring him to the hospital. The employer objected and said that he and the other workers would dig the employee out and take him to a medical provider. No proper medical equipment was used to remove the injured employee from the trench, and he was carried to a personal vehicle and taken to urgent care where the employer left him. This is like sort of like, you're tired of a pet and you just drop the pet off in a nice neighborhood sort of thing. No, 16,100. And here we have a willful, no cave-in protection. Now we have another willful, which is 0, no safe means of egress. Now, and another one, again, the same thing with setting back the spoil pile and other things, and no daily inspections. So, again, everyone's innocent until proven guilty here, but Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this company, I'm going to stop the share right here, because I'm going to, I got to look at this here. I'm sorry, I got to look at this. Because, no, this is completely outrageous here. So let's see something. I want to see they're apparently still in business. All right. It's credited by the Better Business Bureau. Wow, great. Let's see. Did this make the headlines in the popular press up there? I know, Jim, you should do that. All right, so here we have, okay, this is all from the thing. This is, let's see what the no, I went into everything. Let's see what the popular press said up there. OSHA, this is one construction contractor cited over trench hazards, right? The OSHA said Wednesday that it cited a Boston construction contractor for exposing untrained day laborers to trench cave-ins. All right? And we just went into a big thing here. The inspections are launched after safety concerns after cave-ins. Okay. All right. OSHA said that during the Arlington incident, the company made no attempt to rescue a trapped employee and struck the trapped employee with objects to prevent the employee from seeking medical attention. Really? Okay, so they mentioned it here. I mean, and nope, that's not the other one. Again, nothing really here on this, right? Here we have from another source. And again, threatening the homeowner and everything. Again, no, it doesn't say whether any charges were filed against this person. I mean, it's an assault. And people say to me, watch, I'm going to get comments. I know I'm going to get comments here, folks. I'm going to get comments that Jim, now this was one of the comments during training. Jim, who would tell you not to do your job? Well, my answer, someone like this, because this is also what happens. Big company, this is a small company apparently. Big companies hire the same sort of people sometimes. You know, unconscionable. So that's what I got for tonight. Here, we've been following a story for an awful long time here, and this is one of the few companies that I actually name on the air, right? Because it was like, you know, it's like the, what do you call it? Everybody, you know, it was silly if I didn't mention this one, but by name. And let me get out. Now, again, we go off of, Jim, where are you getting the information? I'm just reading press releases here. Right? What I'm doing. The U.S. Department of Labor today announced that OSHA has entered into, and this is from the July 11th, yesterday, has entered into a corporate-wide settlement with Dollar General and its retail subsidiaries to make significant workplace safety improvements in stores nationwide. This agreement commits Dollar General to make, and this is Assistant Secretary for OSHA, Douglas L. Parker, right? This agreement commits Dollar General to making worker safety a priority by implementing significant and systemic changes in its operations to improve accountability and compliance, and it gives Dollar General employees essential input on ensuring their own health and safety. These changes help give peace of mind to thousands of workers, knowing that they are not risking their life, they're risking their safety in their workplaces. Dollar General agreed to pay $12 million. Ay caramba. $12 million bucks, right? And penalties, and implement a corporate-wide changes that make safety of its employees a priority. These improvements include the following: establishing and maintaining an expanded safety structure and a robust safety and health management system, including hiring additional safety managers, significantly reducing inventory and increasing stocking efficiency to prevent blocked exits and unsafe material storage, providing safety and health training to both leadership and non-managerial employees, and developing a safety and health committee, and encouraging employee participation. This agreement also requires Dollar General to ensure prompt abatement of any future violations related to blocked exits, access to fire extinguishers and electrical panels, and improper material storage at its stores during the agreement term. The company must correct such hazards generally within 48 hours and submit proof that they corrected hazards. Failure to do so subjects Dollar General to monetary assessments of $100,000 per day of violation, up to $500,000, as well as OSHA inspection and enforcement actions. All right, Dollar General retained a third-party consultant to, not us, unfortunately, to identify hazards and analyze enterprise-wide contributing factors. Retain a third-party auditor to perform unannounced compliance audits annually on all covered stores to address egress, access to fire extinguishers and electric panels, and electrical hazards and storage conditions created by a new safety operations center to detect store hazards and support safety performance, and maintain an anonymous hotline for employees and the public to report safety concerns. These actions are also requirements in the settlement agreement. Dollar General will monitor outcomes from these actions and provide quarterly reports to OSHA as part of the agreement. The settlement agreement resolves existing, contested, as well as open federal OSHA inspections involving alleged violations, such as blocked emergency exits, blocked electrical panels, blocked fire extinguishers, and unsafe storage. So let's click on this corporate-wide agreement. Okay, it's 44 pages. We're not going to read all 44 pages. Thank you, Jim. Thank you. So that's what I got for tonight. We are going to go with our outro. And we're all right. So I didn't want to get on with the new software on here. So we're doing the old one periodically here. Well, we're not going to be video thing. And let's go from here.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, J. Allen. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, J. Allen.